and welcome back to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And the first question, we've got some, they're not crazy stories. We got a Walmart story for you.
We have some crazy stories.
I have a Walmart story that's really interesting. There was a photo making its rounds. Most people don't know this. Shanksville, PA, where United 93 went down. President Biden, Kamala Harris, and Bush were all there the morning of September 11th on Saturday. I did not know that. Did you know that?
No, it makes sense.
However, while they were there was a photo taken, and you and I are kind of fascinated by it, and we have some different takes on it, opinions.
And you will be fascinated too.
Yes, and but before we get to any of that, before we get about cats falling from the top of stadiums.
No, just falling from the sky. It's raining cats and
Mark,
no dogs.
How are you feeling today? What's up with the Pitt shirt?
I'm feeling good.
You have a daughter at Pitt now.
I have a daughter at Pitt.
Okay.
It's good colors, navy blue and gold, or Mentorsville colors, so they're good colors. But I'm here representing the most prestigious, undefeated college football team in the state.
Pitt.
They're 2-0. They beat an SEC school on the road.
That's impressive.
Now Tennessee's
been bad for a long time.
But
why is Tennessee bad?
I don't know why. Ever since Phil Fulmer left, they have lost it.
Because they can't. Who are they even competing with? First of all, I would imagine they don't. Well, they have Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's no good though.
Yeah.
It's just hard. Like if you're that good and you're in Tennessee's one of those places like Nebraska where people thought, well, they'd always be good. No, it's got to be your destination. You got to want to go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And now that Tennessee's become a professional sport, for the longest time when I was a kid growing up, it was just a college state. But now that the Titans are there, now the Nashville Predators are there. So it's a professional sports. Well, Memphis, the Grizz. So it's a professional state. So the college has kind of taken a little bit of second fiddle, if you will.
I've always viewed, and maybe I could be wrong on this, I've always viewed like Nebraska, Tennessee schools like that. I've always viewed them kind of like a Penn State in the sense of like, I just assume that the state is fanatic for them. Like I just assume that like it is a volunteer state. Like it is.
I would think so.
So like that, I've always felt like that's such an advantage because your stadium's always full and you just from a recruiting standpoint, kids come in and they see that and like the commitment and the loyalty to the program and all that stuff. But like it has not panned out for other state schools the way it has for Penn State.
Well, here's my connection with Tennessee is I got engaged on the night that T. Martin led the Volunteers to the national championship. Okay. So I always have that. So if anyone ever asks what day did you get, all I need is a Tennessee football history page, and I can figure it out. Okay. And Tennessee football has fallen off, as did my marriage. So it's kind of, they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand together. You took a road trip this weekend.
I did. We all have friends who we're either proud or not proud of.
Can I tell this? Because this will lead you into your story. I sent you a text message Sunday morning, and I basically led the text message with like, hey, before your lazy Sunday watching football and just checking in with you on a few things. And I thought the response would be like, oh, Buffalo Wild Wings, if you want to come to that. And your response was on the way back from Atlantic City, and I turned to my girlfriend and I was like, apparently Mark went to Atlantic City.
Well, I posted it on Facebook. You obviously don't care. You don't care. You don't follow me on Facebook.
I do follow you.
There was like 225 other people who liked it, but not you.
The algorithm has deemed you are not worthy of coming up on my...
I'm not Facebook worthy.
I just never see your stuff on my stream.
Wow, that hurts. So anyway, Saturday morning, I'm sitting home. I just sat down at the desk. I get the laptop out. College buddy calls. It's one of those. You look at your phone and you're like, I'm sure this is important.
Sure.
So I answer it probably with some insult. And he lives in Jersey. And he says, what are you doing tonight? I was like, I don't know. He said, if you can make your way to Atlantic City, I got a free ticket for you for the Guns N' Roses show at the Hard Rock.
Pretty good.
I was like, really? I got a free, not only do I have a free ticket, I have a free place for you to stay.
Wow.
Like, he said, but I got to know soon. I was like, what do you mean you got to know? Like, what is there to know? I had to get a TB test.
Okay.
And I got the shot. That's a little thing they shoot under your arm and you go back in 48 hours to see if it's infected, whatever. So I got the shot on Thursday. So it's like at 10 o'clock, I got to go check this out. After that, as long as I'm going to survive TB, which I did, by the way.
You'll be there. Yes.
I was like, I think I'm good. And I was there. What's funny too is just as there are three friends come and they're all married.
Yeah.
I don't have my kids this weekend. So I was a little bit, I was kind of footloose and fancy free.
Sure.
But it's a 4:15, 4.5 to Atlantic City from here.
Yeah.
From Jersey.
It's 4 hours plus, and that's if the traffic's good.
So they were like a little over 2. Okay. And they're like, we're leaving. So right away, I'm like, God, they're going to get there way before me. So he's texting me on the way. I'm at a Dunkin' Donuts outside of Philly. He texted me, he goes, we didn't even leave yet. They're not here yet. These blah, 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 blah. I'm getting this profanity. So I got to Atlantic City like 2 hours before they did. Okay. Just because they're like, well, with my kids and with my wife and with this and with that. So anyway, if you get a chance, the Hard Rock, because my buddy was upset because the tickets weren't that great. Okay. They were, it's a small venue. Mm-hmm. And the seats are like a comfortable movie theater seats. You are not crammed in. Right. The aisles are so wide, you can pretty much walk past people without doing all this stuff. And it was awesome. And any of these old bands, if you haven't gone to see the old bands, if they're still around now, they have survived drug rehab. They are sober. They're drinking bottled water between songs. They're not pulling, bottles of Jack off the speaker and just chuck. Right. Like they sound, and the singers are the question. After all these years, can the singer still sing? Yeah. And Axl sounded surprisingly good. But Slash, if you ever get a chance to see Guns N' Roses, I know this isn't your era, but Slash is worth the price of admission by himself. Yeah. Of the 3-hour show, probably 45 minutes of it is just Slash playing.
There is the best, and because you'll be able to go along with this with the Hard Rock Cafe, the best concert I've seen have been in like smaller venues. Yes. Like I enjoy, like we do a lot of the Hershey concerts at the outdoor stadium, and those are enjoyable. Like I'm not knocking them at all, but there is something about, we saw Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats right before COVID, and we saw them at the Ithaca Theater in Lower State, New York. 500 people, 400 people. And it is, you feel like they're performing for you. Like, I know that sounds corny, but there is a difference in a smaller venue.
If you get a chance, especially the Community Arts Center, I saw 38 Special at the Community Arts Center. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they're so close. It's so intimate. It's almost conversational. Yeah. When they're talking between it's. So anyway, they sounded great, but the venue, and they're just showing John Cafferty's coming. Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac is coming. Like Gladys Knight is coming. Yeah. Now some of these I was walking up. I think Shaka Khan's playing somewhere on the boardwalk, but I don't think she's playing the Hard Rock.
How was Atlantic City? The last time I went to Atlantic City, it was pretty rough.
Well, that's what I said to my buddy. I was like, is this like a destination point? Because he lives like 2 hours up in the state. And he goes, no, Atlantic City's rough. Yeah. But I mean, the boardwalk was good. We stayed at the I was going to say resorts, but
Tropicana.
We stayed at the Tropicana, and the show was at the Hard Rock. So those were really the only places we were.
We stayed at the Tropicana before the hurricane. I'm forgetting which hurricane it was that came and just rocked Atlantic City. And then we went back, actually, like during COVID, we went back, and I was stunned at how it really, I don't want to say that Atlantic City hasn't recovered since the hurricane, but it is not the Atlantic City of old, like even of like 10 years ago.
And I assume with all the other casinos, like when I was a kid, this is what I said to him because I didn't know it was this rough. And I mean, it's not like walking down the boardwalk at 1 o'clock in the morning.
But you do. Danger. But the point I think we're making is there's this idea of what Atlantic City is, and it's not that crystal clear.
It is not. And I'm assuming, Vegas is still Vegas. And Vegas is this destination, and there's shows, and there's glitz, and the glamour, and all that. Yeah. When they put in casinos everywhere, why would people go all the way to Atlantic City? Like I remember as a kid, there were like bus every weekend. It was in the paper. For a bus, we'll give you $20 in free tokens. You take the bus trip, and that's how people would go and gamble. Right. Now you can go to Mohegan, you can go to Bethlehem, you can go to Holly. You can go anywhere. Yeah. So you can do it on your phone.
Makes a difference.
So
Tekla said probably Sandy, and then she followed it up with, haha, I mean, it was Hurricane Sandy.
I knew
started
that.
talking.
I got that.
Because
I was thinking that too, because it was the one where Christie was the governor and Obama was in office.
Okay.
Because I remember that because Christie was taking heat for saying nice things about Obama.
Okay.
And Christie was like, I need to be here for the people of my state, and he's the president, and he's helping, and we're working this out.
Yeah.
So anyway, be that as it may.
It is. Stadiums were full across the country. We had NFL opening weekend. College football was back in full swing. We had opening weekend at Penn State. There was we can kick it off this way. See what I did there? Kick it off.
I like that.
We can kick it off this way. There was a viral video, TikTok, Instagram. It was all over social media of a cat falling from the upper deck, the upper tier of the Miami Hurricanes football stadium.
Is that what game it was at? I didn't know that.
Yes, it was at the Miami Hurricanes football stadium. And you're watching this cat. First of all, you have no idea where the cat came from if you watch the video. I might be able to look it up here when you're talking, but in the video, you have no idea. All of a sudden, there's just a cat dangling from the upper
deck. And it's
deck.
just hanging. The poor little thing is just...
By literally a claw, not figuratively a claw. Like literally, it looks as if one claw is just stuck into the side of the thing. And it's dangling from this top tier. And all of a sudden, it falls. And I will say this. I thought it was going to fall like 10 feet, 20 feet. Like I didn't think the decks would be... It was like, it had to be a 40, 50 feet fall.
Well, you figure it is on the bottom side of the deck above you.
Yes.
They're not close.
No, it was much higher. And all of a sudden it falls. And all of a sudden you see it fall in between these two people that apparently were holding a flag. And apparently the cat was okay. And the stadium erupts. You would have thought the Miami Hurricanes, like it was, what year did they win it? You would have thought it was
90.
They actually, didn't they win one early 2000s? I think they won one against Ohio State early 2000s.
Oh yeah, on the non-pass interference.
Yeah.
Oh no, they got screwed.
It was overtime.
No, Ohio State won. Miami got screwed on the pass interference call.
So you're watching this. The stadium erupts. Apparently the cat was okay, but so many questions. Where did the cat come from? What happened to the cat afterwards? How, like... I've been to
how daredevilish is this cat, and how many of the 9 lives is it already used up?
Why would it try to, like, if you're a cat, you know what's about to happen. Like, how did you get up there? And why are you dangling from the third tier?
We have all these good stories to talk about. And now we're doing, if you were a cat, we're analyzing our cat logic.
Have you ever seen a cat just decide to? No.
No, and I've never talked to a cat and asked them about their decision-making process either. So I can't really tell you.
It is. So if you go to Twitter, if you go to Instagram, if you go to TikTok, anywhere online, you can find the video of this cat, I guess, being saved.
Can you imagine
Hurricane fans?
The 2 drunken idiots with a tower like, we got it. Because it's not, again, it's falling a long way.
Yeah.
Like I could almost see, now the cat would have landed on its feet and been smushed because it fell so far. But I can see these guys who are like, whoops.
Time out, because would it?
Oh, they always fall on their feet.
Not like they always land on their feet, but like how high does a cat have to fall from for it not to land on its feet?
I saw a thing once. You're going to think this is stupid, but I saw a thing.
We're already talking about cats falling from the third deck if you were worried about
It's something about their tail. You saw the thing we've talked about with the squirrel maze in the yard.
Yep.
And when the guy broke down how squirrels,
really
something about the cat's tail, and they can steer themselves.
Okay.
So that's because a cat's tail is like very different than dogs' tails are all like, but cats' tails are all, it's like a rudder.
100% agree with you, but there has to be a height where that doesn't matter. Like there just has to be a point, like a cat can only fall so far before it does not matter that it can land on its feet.
Oh, it's going to be dead.
You think that cat would have died if those people wouldn't have caught it?
I don't know. I can't imagine the cat wouldn't have been in bad shape. To fall on cement, it would have been, it's a stadium. If it lands on cement, I think the cat would have been in really bad shape.
Okay. See, that's what I wonder, like, if it's 20, 30,
and that's
feet,
just
like,
my guess, because I have no...
I would guess a cat can probably land from, like, 15, 20 feet completely unscathed. Like, nothing happened.
Yeah, but this is... I mean, how... You'd have to think of how bendable, pliable, is that the word I'm looking for? Their bones have to be to take that kind of impact and not have...
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the other thing
it was neat. Well, like when you're watching it, because Jerry sends it to me because he sends me all this crazy crap.
Right.
And I'm like, what am I even watching? Like, he goes, they just saved this cat's life. I was like, I get that, but it is weird. But once you know what it is, it's neat. And the crowd does erupt.
They go insane. The other part that I was thinking about too is they were in the right aisle. Like if you're one aisle, if you walk in, because it wasn't the steps, it wasn't the stairway,
Right.
They're in between seats. So if you go, like if you're one row too high or one row too low, you miss the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to know exactly which row that cat's going to fall into. It was pretty neat. Pretty neat story. We can do, you want to jump into the photo?
And while we talk about full stadiums, I just need to throw this in.
No.
There's never been a time. Well, first of all, there's a record set in the NFL. There were lots of records. I mean, there are always, but first time in NFL history, overtime was implemented in 1974. So it's almost been 50 years. Okay. The first time in history, a game was forced to overtime on the last play of regulation, and the game was won in overtime as time expired.
Okay.
Like they kicked a field goal to tie it as time expired in the fourth quarter, and the other team kicked a field goal to win it as time expired in overtime. It's never happened before.
You always drop these. I don't even know what to call them. Like it's neat, but you find them way neater than I do.
50 years, dude.
But like,
you know how many games there have been in 50
I understand
years?
That. I will always make the argument with you. There's a difference between like circumstance and like impressiveness. To me, that feels more like circumstance.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Well, it's like this in the Yankee game, which you don't watch Yankee game. Joey Gallo has come to the plate like 3,200 times in his life. In his big league career, 3,200. He has one sacrifice fly. How that's even mathematically impossible. He has one more sacrifice fly than you do, except he's been in the big leagues for 10 years. So he comes up, they mention this in like the second inning of the Yankee game, and he hits a sacrifice fly that at bat. Now there's guys on second and third, one out, so it's possible. I mean, you have to have the right situation.
Right.
But they're like, he's been in the league for 10 years, he's hit one, and you start talking about he hits two. Like, that's neat to me. Okay. But anyway, this is the point I wanted to make.
Wasn't the point.
No, there's never been a time in college football history that Notre Dame has been 2-0 to start the season.
Okay.
Like right now, Penn State's 2-0 and people are excited. The Eagles are 1-0 and people are excited. The Steelers are 1-0 and people are excited. Notre Dame is 2-0. And Notre Dame's fans are looking at each other going, we suck. And you know what? They do suck. And they're 2-0. And it's never before has this happened.
That was the most convoluted get to the fact that Notre Dame sucks conversation.
And they're 2-0. But it's just that their fans even know it.
Heather looked it up for us. So she says cats can typically fall up to 2 stories, 24 to 30 feet without injury. More than that, injuries typically occur, but the survival rate is still 90%.
So this was 10 yards is 30 feet. I'm thinking this was a little more than 30 feet drop.
See, I think the cat might have been okay.
Well, then you think cats are tougher than I do.
I mean, that's probably true.
Maybe.
The other stadium story that I told you about, I pulled this up. This is from Reuters as well. The Washington football team, because they still don't have a nickname.
And they still don't have a win.
The professional Washington football team had a season opener against the Los Angeles Chargers. A pipe burst, spilling sewage onto fans in the seats below.
Nice.
The incident occurred in the first half of the game. This was my initial take. I think
is that nothing could be better for Washington fans than raw sewage?
So my initial take was, I'm shocked this didn't happen more often because a lot of these stadiums were empty for 14 months, 16 months. And now all of a sudden, like you're throwing 50, 70, 100,000 fans.
Still, it's not that old of a stadium and the pipes.
I'm just saying.
Because
listen, when you don't use stuff, stuff breaks quickly. When all of a sudden you try to go full force at it again.
That's an interesting point. I would think.
But you haven't seen this yet. There is a video and it is falling from. It's not like it was in a corner somewhere and it squirted. It is falling from the ceiling down onto fans in the seats.
As a Cowboy fan, knowing that's happening to Washington fans, fans is just fantastic.
Yeah. So they are, and Washington football team came out and made a statement that it was actually sewage. So I don't know.
Did they make a statement
that
they played like sewage because they lost? Now their quarterback got hurt in their defense.
Yes. Biden photo or Walmart scandal? Biden photo or Walmart?
Well, they're both cute. They're both interesting for different topics. Okay. So whichever. What do you got? You call. You're the man.
Let's do the Biden photo. So
good. That's what I would have picked.
We had just talked about Shanksville, PA, United 93. There was a photo op afterwards because I believe Biden, Harris, and Bush were there as a memorial on Saturday morning for the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Biden took a photo. It's going around on Facebook. I have it pulled up here in front of me. There is a group of kids lined up for him to take the photo. You originally had said to me when I showed it to you, you said, I thought you were pointing out that Biden didn't have his mask up, which and I said, well, no, I didn't even notice it, to be honest, that he didn't have his mask pulled up. And to be honest with you, I really could have cared less that he had his mask down. Right. I'm sure there were some people that were commenting on it, but that wasn't what my initial take from the photographs. There's about a dozen kids in the photo, and there are two girls. One girl has a red Trump hat. Another girl has on a blue Make America Great Again hat. Very distinct, too. It's not like these are bold hats. And then there is a young boy who has on a Trump Terminator shirt. So it's Trump's face with the Terminator glasses, and it says, I'll be back.
No.
The shirt.
No, it says, I'll be back.
That's right. And in the photo, Biden's smiling, the kids are smiling. It's very clear that everybody had agreed to do the photo. In the comments.
Oh, it's posed.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. In the comments, Biden is getting absolutely smoked for these photos. Some people are saying he was duped and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just kind of the idea of even his youngest supporters are wearing Trump gear and all that stuff. And I told you when I first came in, I could not have disagreed more with the comments that I was reading.
I agree.
I went down through. And this post now is up to over 6,000 shares. It has over 3,000 different reactions. I thought this was, I don't want to use the word cute, but I thought this said a lot about you. You talk about what's going on in Afghanistan. I just watched a thing about Belarus last night on John Oliver. You talk about all the things that are going on in other countries. And here's a country where the sitting president can take a photo with a group of young Trump supporters and smile in the photo. I thought it was very endearing. I thought it actually, and I've been very critical of Biden over the last month. You've heard, I have not had a lot of positive things to say about him.
You know why? Because there's been lots of things to be critical about.
Yes. But this is one of them, for all the things you want to give him slack for or slam him for, I completely disagree with the take that's being given on these photos.
Well, you have to represent people who don't vote for you. If you're in political office, well, I guess you don't have to, but you're supposed to.
Yeah.
That is your job.
Right.
And it would be incredibly immature, unprofessional, whatever the word it would be, for him to think I have to make governmental decisions, policy decisions based on the best interest of America, not on the best interest of those people who voted for me.
Right.
And you think that kind of comes with, and I think for most presidents, there is a maturity. I think most presidents, if you went up to them and kind of shook their hand and said, I didn't vote for you. If W walked in the office right now, which I'm surprised he hasn't, I would think he would want to sit in with us.
I've been really praising him hard lately.
I think if W sat down and I said to him, listen, one time I voted for you and one time I didn't, I don't think he would have a hissy fit.
Sure.
I think he would be like, hey, that's, how the country works. And that's true. I did vote for him one time and one time I didn't.
Right.
So I just think that people get it. Or most politicians get it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Biden, I don't know, I think it's the right step.
I gave the example to you. I said, and this isn't a perfect analogy, but I said it would be like if I were a Penn State fan and I had on a Penn State jersey and the quarterback for Ohio State walked past me and I was a young kid and he was going to be an NFL quarterback and I asked for his photo And it would be like that quarterback taking the time to take that photo. Like I gave you the example, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. It'd be like if I went to a Bulls game, I had on my Bulls gear, and I walked by LeBron James. And I was like, LeBron, can I get a photo? Right? But it's even deeper than that, because to your point, like it's an elected official. Like whether you want him to or not, he represents the country that you are living in at this given point. So I just thought some of again, there are a lot of things that people can say and criticize and all of that right now. But I think you look at everything that's happening right now and the fact that he was willing to play along. Like the fact that he was like, those were kids who were meeting the president. And did they have on a Trump hat? Sure. Did they have on a Trump shirt? Sure. But to him, like he knew that they would want a photo because I'm the president of the United States and that means something. Like that matters. I just don't understand the slandering side of it. I think it's a giggle. Like I think it's a ha-ha, but I don't understand like the slander of it.
Well, I think too, we always talk about it in at least since I've been paying attention, every president talks about, we need to go across the aisle and we need to meet. And most of them, what they're saying is, I want you to vote along with me, regardless of what party you're in. But how can a politician talk about being bipartisan and being able to work with the other side if they can't get a picture taken with the other side?
Sure.
If they can't, and none of these kids voted against Biden.
Sure.
Because they're not old enough to vote. But it's still, I mean, we talk about, my ex used to always tell me, you turn everything into a sports analogy and they don't always work. And I think they do always work.
Sure.
But you use these examples. When these guys stand and sign autographs all the time, then it's not just guys from their team.
Right.
If Jalen Hurts is signing autographs, standing in Philadelphia next year, there's going to be a kid who's in a Giants jersey. There's going to be a kid. And Jalen Hurts isn't going to look at the kid. He may joke with the kid. He may make fun of the kid, whatever, and be like, but he's not going to turn the kid away.
Sure.
And be like, I'm only signing. And that's how you win over more fans. And that's how you have a Giants fan who's like, I love the Giants, but I really love Jalen Hurts because I have his autograph on my wall or I have it on my shirt or whatever.
Sure.
And
they're still people. They're still individuals. The last thing that I will say about this too was it wasn't like a random photo. Like this was a 9/11 memorial photo. And like you've seen all these posts, some of the favorite posts that I've seen, like there are people that are saying and pushing that 9/12 should be a holiday, like 9/12 should be America's day, like the neighborly day. And so the idea of like, even on a day like the 20th anniversary of 9/11, the United States president was willing to take a photo with a group of kids who had on his opponent's gear. And yet there were still people, even on that day, like on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, they just couldn't see past it. Like they just couldn't let it go and just realize that like, here's somebody, like, I don't want to say it was a bipartisan thing, but like the
9/11 is a bipartisan.
Yes. But my point being is like the photo meant more, like the photo matters more about the fact that we're all Americans on that day than anything else.
Well,
it didn't matter what the kids were wearing.
Haven't you noticed the hypocrisy of how many people on social media, and I see this with a lot of my very political friends who, regardless of what side they're on, and they will bash the other side and bash the other side. And then every now and then they throw one out and say, why can't we all just get along? And you're just like, well, the reason is because you just insulted the other side 5 consecutive posts. And you talked about how they're idiotic. You talked about how they're snowflakes. You taled about how they're racist. And now you wonder why we can't get along. So when people say, why can't we all just get along? But then, so Biden's not supposed to be nice to Republicans?
Right.
Like Republicans aren't supposed to be respectful of the president. Like there's this aspect. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. There's so much hypocrisy and there's so much lunacy in politics nowadays. The fact that, I agree with you.
Remember when we said we were never going to talk about politics?
Well, that didn't have an angle. That just had a reaction. But yeah, we did.
Let's talk about real quickly to end the show today. There was a press release done. So cryptocurrency, there's all these different coins. One of them is called Litecoin, Litecoin. And
it's the one with the less calories than the regular beer.
Is that how that works?
Yes.
So they put out a release on their social media that basically said they had created a partnership with Walmart. And in the tweet, there was an actual press release from Walmart that said they were going to partner up and they were going to start doing all this. And it actually, I believe it had a quote from the CEO of Walmart. Okay. So this wasn't just like someone got out their Twitter and was just like, 2 words like Walmart's accepting Litecoin. Like they went all out.
They did it right.
They went all out on this. And then this morning, real quick before that, Reuters, CNBC, I forget who.
Litecoin, and now you're back.
We're back.
And the stock went zoom. Then Walmart spoke up, said, we have no idea what they're talking about. And the stock went zoom. And now it's basically where it was before. But they think it was like this was an inside job from Litecoin. This wasn't somebody trying to be funny. This was them with their marketing approach.
So somebody for Litecoin certainly messed up because it was on their side.
Did they mess up?
Well, see, that's a better question. This is what's funny, and we've danced around this stuff before. I don't think Litecoin's going to be the one who really gets in trouble for this. I think who's going to get in trouble for this is like anybody who's invested in cryptocurrency, because I think now they're going to use this as, see, it needs to be regulated. See, they need to have better policies in place. See, this is why you can't trust it. And so,
as opposed to the news agencies that need to check their sources
beforehand. So it is ironic that I think it's going to fall on to the people beneath. I'm sure Litecoin will get a smack on the wrist.
Well, we talked about, is this a federal offense? I think somebody's in big trouble.
I think it's a federal offense because you use the word impersonating. I just think it's a national organization. You think about how much Walmart covers.
Right.
I mean, to me, it's a federal offense.
If somebody puts one out that says NCPA is now collecting Litecoin, like we are national in the aspect that we go, because we're on the internet.
Right.
But we're a regional company here in Pennsylvania.
Right.
Walmart is everywhere, and it's publicly traded, and it's I think somebody's in a lot of trouble.
I think so too. The other part of this also is how, I don't want to put down
gullible.
I don't want to put down news organizations. However, for Reuters and CNBC and for some of these ones, I know you want to be first. I get it. I understand that is part of the game. But they rewrote quotes from the CEO of Walmart that were not real.
But if you're, and I will just play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So I get the people who want to be first.
Yes.
But the people who aren't first.
Yeah.
If we read something and we're like, CNBC wrote it, Reuters wrote it, it has to be.
Well, that's why we only mentioned them, though. We didn't sit here and mention every single news organization that wrote it. But there are bigger players that I just, with great power comes great responsibility. If you're Reuters,
and I get the Reuters part, but all the other hop along or piggybackers, I guess you would say, that we're like, well, it must be true because they're bigger than we are. They wrote it. This is what Reuters does. Reuters. Is it Reuters? However you say it. But I can certainly see why once the snowball got rolling, that everyone fell for it.
Well, we talked about, speaking of scandals, we recently talked about the Bishop Sycamore one, the high school football team. And we were talking about what a poor job they did. They didn't have real uniforms. They didn't have a real roster. There wasn't a website. There was no actual address for a school. This scandal is almost the opposite.
They tried hard.
They tried really hard to make this look as official as they possibly could.
And they did well enough that everyone bit.
Well enough to fool the majority.
You know who didn't bite? NorthcentralPa.com.
We did not bite.
We did not run this.
We're going to bite on the fake, though.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to bite on the fake.
Fun. This is fun.
We're going to talk about that. Anything else from today?
No, I do think that football's back in swing, and I'm sure a lot of people, even if you're not a football fan, but
yeah,
as I joke about Pitt, 2-0. But locally, the Eagles with a huge win, the Steelers with a huge win. They were both underdogs. Penn State doing well, and Penn State has the whiteout this weekend. There's a little bit of football electricity in the air here in our region.
Yes. Yes, there is.
How long it lasts, we'll find out. But it was a better start than everybody's thrilled.
Yeah.
Except us Cowboy fans who are still waiting for a flag on the offensive pass.
It's not coming.
It should be coming.
I don't know what to tell you.
It should have been there the other night.
It's not coming. All right. We'll wrap up the show today. That was good.
I think so too.
Yeah. All right. We enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
And if you get a chance to see Guns, it's worth it. Here I am.
Guns N' Roses.
Your rocket queen. Yes.
If you could see one band, who would you see? And don't make this a 2-minute answer. 10 seconds.
Living or dead?
Both.
That's still around?
Both.
I never saw Aerosmith. That would be the
you
one.
Would want to,
assuming they're not too old that they can still. That's the thing that people remember. Guns showed up in like the mid. I think their first album was '86.
Okay.
And people are asking me, can they still make it around stage? Like, yeah, they were good. I think they're in their late 50s.
Yeah,
but they were really. But Aerosmith, like they're in like their 70s. I never saw Ozzy. I wish I would have seen Ozzy. I can't imagine Ozzy's still alive, but he is.
Yeah.
But Aerosmith is the one that will forever disappoint me.
Okay.
I had a chance. They were at State College one night. It was in the middle winter. It was 20 years ago. I was coaching girls basketball. Okay. And I said to the assistant coach, we can go. I'm sure you could have scalped your way into Bryce Jordan. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's one of the regrets. That would be it. How about you?
I mean, this just shows like our difference in age. I had a chance to see Kanye West when he was Kanye West. He was coming off.
Who is he now?
Well, he's somebody who I don't really know where his creativeness has taken him. Okay. Like he's almost too woke. Like he's just past, his creativeness has surpassed him to make reasonable material, I guess. But I had a chance to see him at State College during the Yeezus tour, which is right like the Yeezus tour.
Yeezus?
That's what he called it, which was right before, like after that, it kind of started spiraling. But up to that point, it was like 5 straight #1 albums. And like it was, and that was his biggest performance. Like the stage was in the middle and it was like all these different sets. And I had a chance to see him at State College. It snowed and I could not get there. And my original gut was like, why wouldn't Kanye West be Kanye West a year from now, 2 years from now? So I stayed. I decided not to go. And then all of a sudden, like the wheels came off. Like he got into the Kardashian relationship and like it just got weirder and it kind of all. Now, I'm sure he's still a great performer and I'm sure, but like at that point, there was no crazy, like it was just music and Kanye West. And so I will forever regret not, because I could still see him and I'm sure it would be good, but I would have been able to see him like at the peak of it. And the snowstorm.
I've seen like every 80s hair metal band I saw, even into the set, I've seen Kiss. I saw the Stones. I saw Prince. Yeah. I would have loved to see Michael Jackson. Obviously that's not happening. Yeah. I've seen even newer. I've seen Kid Rock, which was a blast. If you ever get a chance to see Kid Rock, first 45 minutes, I didn't know a song, and it was so much fun.
Doesn't matter.
I'll tell you a couple that I would love to see that would probably surprise you would be Gaga and Pink. I'd love to see either of them.
That doesn't surprise me. I think as a musician, you just get to like past point. So for example, like I'm not an Aerosmith fan, but as soon as you said Aerosmith, I was like, oh, that would be pretty awesome.
Yes.
I think you just get past a level where even if you don't love the musician or the music, they're such a good I'm that way. Like I can't stand Dave Matthews Band. Like just can't. I'm not a Matthews. I don't understand it, but I've seen him twice. And when I'm there, I'm like, I get it. Like I personally don't get it, but like when I watch him perform and they're playing and I'm like, I understand. Like I get why people love him.
You know who else I would like to see? Yeah. It's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, she'd be pretty amazing.
She's got some talent.
Yeah, we saw. What was your well, you just saw Guns N' Roses right before COVID. We saw Luke Combs at State College. And he is pretty incredible.
I haven't seen any local. I'd enjoy the Zach Brown Band. I've seen Garth. I saw Brooks and Dunn. I saw Billy Ray Cyrus back when he was the Achy Breaky Heart, when he wasn't Miley's. I wouldn't mind seeing Miley Cyrus. I think she's much better than people give her credit for.
We just saw Zach Brown Band like 4 weeks ago. They were in Hershey. We went to see, it's called the Comeback Tour.
Okay.
They're amazing. They're incredible. Like, I'm not diminishing Zach Brown Band. We were there for about 2 hours, and I swear to God, we heard 3 Zach Brown songs. He did a 2-hour performance, and it was all covers.
Really?
He brought the opening acts back on like several times. He did this thing at the end where each member of his band got to pick the song that they wanted to perform, like a cover of any song they wanted to perform.
Oh, really?
Now, here's the part. All of those things individually are awesome, right? Like they did a Rolling in the Deep cover by Adele. Fantastic, like all these things. But the problem is, like, you're there to see Zach Brown.
Right.
And you're not here, like, none of the songs are Zach Brown songs. So it was just this weird part, because I've been to concerts where, like, when we left, the coolest part was like some random cover they did of Queen or some like whatever. But this was like an hour and 45 minutes of it. And I was like, I didn't love that. Like, that was weird.
I saw Springsteen at State College. And I guess one of the things that Springsteen does now in his tours is people bring signs and they like take a request.
Okay.
And they have signs of what they want to hear and blah, blah, blah. And they go around and pick. And they say that it's like unscripted, that they pick one and they just do the best they can. And it looked legit, because you could see that they're talking, and the 2 guitar players, Little Stevie and Nils Lofgren, are like talking, and they're like going through this. And Bruce is like, "Are we ready? Are we ready? We got to go. We got to go. Are we going to do this?" Yeah. And they did this song from Animal House, a little bit softer now. Shout. They did Shout, and it sounded okay. You could tell. Bruce didn't know all the words.
Sure.
But there's part of you, see, I'm the furthest thing from musician, but there's part of you that's like, well, they can't do that unrehearsed. But then they're like, these are professional musicians who are like, yeah, we kind of know it. It sounds like this, and we can play it. And it was a lot of fun. But you could, if it was fake, they faked it well. Right. Because the guys looked like they were huddled and like, and Bruce like, come on. Sure. So, yeah, but I'm with you. If you've never seen Springsteen, it's fun. But
imagine if Bruce did that for an hour and a half.
Yeah, that I wouldn't get.
People would be like, what is happening right now? And that's kind of what this Zach Brown Band concert was like. Like, people, and I wasn't the only one. Like, the majority of people around me were kind of like, is he going to play a Zach Brown Band song?
Right.
It was.
Well, as you're there, one of the things we're looking at the time, like, how long is he playing? I said, I think he's playing till midnight. They started at 9. And we're sitting there, my buddy and I, well, they got to play this. They haven't played this yet. They haven't played this yet. They haven't played this yet. Maybe they'll play this one. Maybe what's going to be in the encore. And so as a concert goer, I think that's kind of part of the fun of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Figure it out.
So there you go.
All right. Thank you guys for listening again to the Midday Show. And thank you to our title sponsors one more time. And as always, go to NorthcentralPa.com for all your local news.
I may have my Yankee gear on again tomorrow because we need another hot streak.
I'll forgive you.
We need one. Today we play the Twins. They always beat the Twins. Tomorrow we got to get it going.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina, and we will see you all tomorrow.